Hello, bonjour, namaste, ni hao, and oh hi everybody. What is going on? It is Galeriot here. Welcome back to another Danmachi Memoria Freese video, and today we are going to be testing and showcasing the newly buffed Shakti Varma from Astray Record Part 2. I'm very excited to be checking her out because initially when I looked at her, I thought she was going to be relatively decent, in all honesty. I'm not even joking. I remember in the video that I made for all the unit buffs and everything, I thought she was actually going to be very solid. In retrospective and in hindsight, I think that she's probably the third best buffed unit in terms of the adventure set we've got, but I still believe she can have her usage, and especially her team composition will be very interesting to talk about in just a moment. But of course, if you guys are going to enjoy this video, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more Danmachi Memoria Freese content, as well as just generally, if you guys like Danmachi, please subscribe. We're going to be doing so much more in the coming weeks and coming months, to be quite honest. And of course, leave a comment down below letting me know, what do you guys think about the Astray Record buffs so far? Do you like them, dislike them? Did you expect maybe more? Let me know in the comment section down below, and let me know what type of content you'd like to see in the coming weeks as well, because I'm thinking of doing some other things as well. Like for example, tomorrow, in the coming week actually, I have a video planned for another Danmachi game, so you should check that out when I drop it. But also tomorrow the skill flow video is gonna come back for Finn. I know some people have been asking about me making a skill flow video again. I will be making that tomorrow. The team building video should be out tonight, provided I don't have any editing errors. That should be out tonight. So there's a lot of content coming up, but I want to see what you guys would like to see on the channel. Maybe something a little bit different, more challenge videos. What do you guys like to see? Let me know in the comment section down below. Now, this Shakti Varma, right? Like I said, I initially thought she was going to be excellent, right? But the thing with this Shakti Varma is that she's in a very interesting position, right? She is a balanced type unit first and foremost, so her stats aren't necessarily some of the best stats we've ever seen. You're only going to be looking at her agility primarily, as well as her skills, because her magic stat or strength stat, depending on what type of balanced unit she is, will never be too high. Like for example, I mean, if you look at Melia, right? Melia has a stat of 2000 for her strength, which is not bad at all. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, for a balanced type unit, 2000 is really good. But the thing is, right, you have physical attackers and magic attackers who have 2100 plus magic or STR stats, depending on what type of unit they are. So balanced units usually have a lower, sort of physical stat. That being said though, Shakti is even lower than that. At MLB or +5, she only has a magic stat of 1700, so that's not really that much, in all honesty. However, what makes up for the low stats is her skill set. So her special art, Varka Paraka, or Varsha Paraka, is a AoE Ultra Wind magic attack with temporary grade magic boost and ultra penetration rate, and strength, magic, agility, dexterity, and endurance minus 50% for 3 turns. This is really solid, in all honesty. I mean, I personally prefer this in comparison to, for example, Artie's special arts update, because obviously Artie's special arts update, right, was very minute. It just added a couple of more stats boosts, and that's about it. The HP regen stayed the same, everything else stayed the same, right? Whereas with Shakti, at least it's an attacking ability, which did get the temporary grade magic boost, if I recall correctly, and of course she debuffs the enemy. This is something you're not going to use anyways, to be quite honest, in PvE or in PvP, but it's something that's there for players to have just in case. It's kind of nice to have. What you're looking at primarily, however, for Shakti is her first, second, and third skill. So let's look at her first skill first and foremost. Raksha Chakram, 69 MP, nice number by the way. Allies fast, P-res, M-res 40%, and damage received attack type all targets minus 30% for 5 turns, and self plus reactions of 30% HP heal, status debuff minus 2 turns, and status buff plus 2 turns on allies. Now, looking at this, it's really solid, right? You would think that this would be an amazing option for any team, right? But the thing is, right, the more you think about it, right, you have so many other units, I feel like, right now, that is capable of doing this, but a little bit better, and then across multiple units. Whereas Shakti can do it in all, kind of like an all-in-one. You have, for example, the 5th anniversary Galmas giving minus 40% damage received from AoE attacks and single target attacks. Of course, Shakti is only doing AoE attacks. I think if she had single target attacks here as well, potentially could have been so much better. And then you have some other units that can give more P-res or M-res, basically. That being said though, this isn't a bad option. However, like I said, I initially thought that she was going to be great generally speaking, but the more I think about her, right, you're primarily only going to use her in the stall team. You're not going to use her in PvE. You're not going to use her in Record Buster, let's be real. Like, look at her third skill. Like, yes, it has the removes STR and magic buffs, which can come in handy, for example, against Finn, right? But you're not going to use this sort of a unit in Record Buster. And you're not going to use this sort of unit in PvE contents like Familiar Rush or Familiar Royale, to be quite honest, because the buffs itself aren't that crazy. You're going to use more offensive units. So this unit's only sort of like position is in war games, and it's also even more limited by the fact that she's probably only going to be on a stall team, right? She's going to be part of the stall team that is capable of basically defending itself as much as possible. But that's where it also is pretty good, because this unit will go extremely well with the new hero FESTA RYU, right? Both wind units, so they're going to be a bit cohesive, right? Being able to deal damage on a good basis. Like, for example, I mean, if we look at Ryu's stats, right? If we look at just Ryu for a second here, being able to obviously give, you know, herself that 80% wind attack damage, but what she can also do is give minus 40% wind rest. So even though Shakti isn't able to be super offensive, if you can launch your second skill, which she will in the second turn, you can still deal some damage with that super wind magic attack. Now, it's not fast or anything, but it's there, and it's a option for her to deal a little bit of damage, right? So that's there. So yeah, for me, I think while these skills are good, she is kind of limited by her teams, and obviously the fact that you're primarily going to use her only on a stall team specifically. And even then, you could make an argument and say that there are better options for the stall team, right? Like, I mean, Wyatt has the stall team. We're going to be going up against Wyatt anyways, right? But if you look at Artie, Galmus, Astraeus, you know, these units are far superior and far better in terms of being a better option for these teams. Like I said, with Galmus, you obviously have the minus 40% attack type all and single targets damage reduction basically for all allies, which is great, right? Then you have Astraeus as well, who's capable of giving himself a lot of you know, resistances and damage received or damage reductions as well, right? He gives himself a lot here. And then of course you have Ryu also giving herself all the resistances as well. And then the new Artie, which will be coming back next month, right? You might want to go for this unit because she also has P-Res, M-Res 35% and removes the STR magic P-Res and M-Res debuffs. That's also something to consider, is that if you have a unit like this that can remove those debuffs, it'll come in handy. So in all honesty, while Shakti is a decent unit, I will say this, she's a decent unit. I'm not gonna deny that fact. She's doing quite a lot for the team that she's meant to be a part of. But there are better options, and that's the only thing I would say about her, which will not be amazing in all honesty. But today we're gonna see how she does. We're gonna throw her into the into a sort of like, not semi-stall team, it's not even a semi-stall team, but just a general team that I've been using a little bit for Ryu to sort of climb up the rankings. So let's see how it goes. I'm very interested to see how this team would perform, to be quite honest. It's gonna be very, very interesting to say the least. And hopefully you guys enjoy this video and can see how good or bad Shakti might be. So let's go into it. Let's start off fighting against Wyatt, and then we'll go up and up and up. Now, I'm not going to do any sort of PvE content today because there's no real point in doing that. We're going to be, in all honesty, we're not really going to see much from the PvE side of things. I'm going to be honest and say that. So there's no real reason for us to try and do that. But at least if we can see how well, you know, Shakti might be able to perform, we might be able to potentially get an idea on how good she can actually be. So I mean, yeah, the damage isn't that great. Like I said, you're primarily using her to basically get that little bit of extra damage reduction in terms of the STR and magic down on the second ability, as well as, of course, launching of the additional attack, of course, which is able to heal the team up, which is handy. I mean, the thing is, the heals aren't as strong in PvP as they are in PvE. For some reason, they have this thing where PvP healing is a little bit weaker than PvE healing, but it's still beneficial to have something like this so that you can use it. But yeah, let's see what's cooking here. Let's see. Seems like we're kind of in a sort of like what's the best word here? We're in a very neutral position. There's nothing happening here because of course the Ryu on the other side that Wyatt has is, of course, basically got all the resistances. However, we managed to stun Ryu over there, so hopefully we will be able to defeat her. There we go. Okay, beautiful. So I mean, that is another problem. Like, if you're gonna go into like a sort of a Ryu matchup, you're gonna face that problem because Ryu gives herself an inherent wind res, right? So that's another thing as well to take note of, is like, she, even though you might run a team like this, having a wind unit like this Shakti might not be beneficial. And again, that's where maybe like a Galmas can come into play, or somebody else, right? Because while you know, she gives herself wind, thunder, dark res, and wind water resistance, right? She doesn't resist earth attacks, she doesn't resist fire attacks, she doesn't resist light attacks. So if you have any one of those three units to back you up, you're basically going to be able to penetrate through her in some way, shape, or form, outside of course, if you have like another unit. So maybe running a Galmas again for in this sort of a team is probably better because of that situation, right? Because at the end of the day, when you're going into war games, right, and I'll talk about this more in team building 101, you want to try and beat as many teams as possible. You're not going to be able to beat every single team. There is going to be maybe like a weakness to one team or two teams at most, but what your job is supposed to be in war games is to try and beat as many different teams as possible, so that you're basically securing yourself for the future, basically, right? That's the idea here. So yeah, let's see. Get the heal off. Okay, Starlink is gonna come in. Shakti and Melee are going to go down. That's fine. All right, let's see how this goes now. Come on. Love the stun. Very cool. Thank you. Starlink did 33k there. That is strong. All right, Ryu. All right, I see you there. I see you. But yeah, like I said, I don't think I'm a big fan of this Shakti. Initially, I was way more of a fan than I probably should have been, to be quite honest. I think the buffed up skills on paper looked a lot nicer to me than what it should have been. But that being said, I don't think this is really something we can scoff at, in the sense of like, it's not the worst option out here. I think if you really are planning on building a stall team and you don't have maybe like Galmas, for example, right? And we know Galmas isn't probably going to come back till most likely June, right before the next anniversary. And even then, because it's the anniversary by then, nobody's gonna really, you know, want to summon for Galmas because of well, you know, the anniversary being right around the corner. So in that regards, this Shakti may not be a bad option, but again, you have to consider the fact that A, it's time limited, B, the units on the banner, you might not want to pull for, I think it's Kaguya and Seer, right? Both of those aren't really that great in terms of their buffs that they received. So you're gonna be in a problem where maybe you don't want to pull for that unit. So even though this Shakti might be a good option for stall, unless you already had her at like +3 or +4 from the 3rd anniversary, I wouldn't necessarily say that this is a unit you should 100% go for, 1000% go for. There's no reason for that. I think you're better off just, you know, taking it on the chin, moving along, and, you know, not summoning for her, to be quite honest. Like I would suggest, honestly, I really wouldn't. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about her. I'm very curious to see what y'all have to say down below in the comments. Of course, this will be our last fight for today. We'll just try and go up against Fen. Doesn't seem like we're gonna win, maybe. I always say that, but I always end up winning against Fen, though, for some reason. I think it's because of Ryu's resistances and stuff, man. It's ridiculous, yeah. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this Shakti. I'm very curious to see what y'all have to say. Like I said, I think while there are some positives, you could make an argument and say that about this Ryu. Obviously, I wouldn't necessarily say she's like revolutionary. But there we go. We beat Fen. Yeah, Shakti, nice, good unit, good option for stall if you already had her at +4, +5, and you don't have, let's say, Galmas or Astraeus or something like that. She's going to be a good option to just throw in there and chuck in there. But there are better units, and there are potentially going to be much better units to come in the coming months that will probably take her position. So yeah, that's all I have to say about this Shakti. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take it easy, everybody. Bye-bye.